Wanneer het Duitse leger op 1 september 1939 Polen binnenvalt, verklaren Frankrijk en het Verenigd Koninkrijk Duitsland de oorlog. Toch is de Duitse oorlogsdrang niet te stoppen. Hier begint het verhaal van John Sleep uit Rosebery, wanneer hij zich in 1940 als 19-jarige aanmeldt bij het Britse leger. Nu, ruim 76 jaar na dato, vertelt de 95-jarige oorlogsveteraan John Sleep zijn verhaal. Een aangrijpend verhaal dat eindigt bij Venray, waar hij in oktober 1944 zwaar gewond raakt.
Volunteer for the Royal Berkshires, I got the railway ticket, which sent me up to the north of England. Having arrived there, at the wrong place, which was the usual balls up by the civil service, you know. So I did my basic training there. Well, the usual infantry training, you were rifles, Brenns. Then moved down to the east coast of the Royal Berkshires. It was mainly patrols day and night, 2 hours on, 4 hours off, because of the invasion scare. So I had 3 other brothers, all in the army. The one in the medics, he served in Ireland, in Normandy, then India. The other brother never left Windsor because he was an artist, so they kept him there doing the Queen's coaches.
De oorlog in Europa breidt zich steeds verder uit. Italië is inmiddels een bondgenoot van Duitsland. Engeland stuurt de eerste troepen naar het Midden-Oosten. Ook de jonge soldaat John Sleep wordt ingescheept voor zijn eerste vertrek naar een oorlogsgebied.
Oh, that must be 42, I reckon. The end of 42. I went to Algeria. They took the lifeboats off and put landing craft on. And I went to Algeria with a few thousand others that were all sick on the way. From Algeria down to Libya and then Tunisia. Mainly on foot, yes. But the main enemy was, of course, mosquitoes and flies.
Niet alleen het ongedierte, ook de lange afstanden die te voet moesten worden afgelegd door de woestijn eisten hun tol. Na de gevechten in het Midden-Oosten wordt men richting Europa gedelegeerd.
Went to Italy. We landed in their naval base. But the RAF had been in the night before and put the battleships out of action. From there, we moved inland through the centre of Italy and then up to about the Sangria, the river. Then a group of us were pulled out and sent to Bari, where the Italians were refusing to unload the ships. So we were sent there to persuade them, which they did. They agreed to work. But the ships were loaded with mustard gas, you know, ready to drop on the German cities. I shouldn't be telling this because this was one of the secrets, you know. It didn't come out until well after the war. The day we left, the Germans come in and bombed the harbour. They sunk 22 ships. So there was heavy casualties on the civilian side. We went up just below the Sangria River, and then we were pulled back and finished up back in England on Christmas Eve of 43.
In Engeland zijn de voorbereidingen voor een grote geallieerde militaire invasie reeds in volle gang, met als doel de algehele bevrijding van het bezette West-Europa. Op 6 juni 1944 start de operatie D-Day op de stranden van Normandië. En weer wordt John Sleep ingezet in de strijd voor een vrij Europa.
Oh, we left early morning and 15 of us come over in a supply boat and we were put in the hold. Well, you imagine carrying ammunition and the weapons and that. It was okay until the boat put to sea, then started rolling because we were all bumping into each other and tempers soon flared up. So we were banging on the hatch and the naval officer started to shout down, but he was too late. The first bloke had his head and shoulders out of the hatch. Then we all followed. And he said, my orders are that you've got to travel in the hold. And of course, one of the guys said, if I travel in the holes, you'll be swimming home. I come in on D+4 on Sword Beach.
Zonder veel problemen bereikt John Sleep het strand van Normandië. Maar wist hij wat hun doel was? Bijvoorbeeld Nederland te bevrijden?
Oh no. We didn't really know where we were going, no. After the Normandy campaign, of course, we moved up through France. We moved up through the Somme. There was a group of us sent over to link up with a French contingent. But they never turned up. They were probably killed during the shelling.
In deze fase van de strijd heeft John Sleep nog steeds geen idee welke route men volgt.
Oh, that's hard to say. It was all the same to me. But there is a story about Belgium. There's a group before us crossed one of the canals, and it was our job to hold the bridgehead. And in the morning, the fighting had slowed down, you know, the noise. And I could see a house amongst the trees, so I thought, see what I could scrounge, because we were always hungry. So I approached the house, and there was 2 dead Belgians there, man and wife, quite elderly, and I was looking at them. Next thing I heard was the bolt of a rifle being drawn, and I knew it was no point in running. So I stood there. Next thing I knew was a German standing by my side. I glanced at him and he had the green flash on his collar that told me he was Lorry infantry. He just looked at the 2 on the ground and looked at me and shook his head. And that was the cue for me to leave. Yeah, I never told anybody about it. They didn't fire apparently, they were, you know, rearguard people.
Ondanks hevige Duitse tegenstand verloopt de geallieerde opmars door Frankrijk en België sneller dan gepland. De verzorging en hygiëne van de Engelse troepen laten echter vaak te wensen over.
From June to October I had one shower, which was in a muddy field. Yeah. I mean, we all had lice, what we called crabs. And if you're under 21, they were money spiders. Of course, a lot of the lads washed their testicles in petrol and making sure no one had a match. But you would do anything to stop the irritation, you know. Yeah.
Na de bevrijding van België trekken de Engelse troepen bij Valkenswaard Nederland binnen. De bevrijders krijgen een enthousiast onthaal van de bevolking. John Sleep begrijpt niets van hun blijdschap.
But the Dutch amuse me, you know. They say to us, thank you. And I say to them, we set fire to your houses, we blew your churches up, we dug up all your vegetables, and we ate everything we could find, you know. We lived on sugar beet then. Yeah, and they say thank you. We took the town of Helmond and the whole population turned out. And the Germans were quickly rounded up. And we only took 2 casualties. I directed my crew up into a top room that commanded the crossroads. And I gave one fellow my Sten, which he dropped and blew a hole in his foot. So he was out of it. And the other casualty was an Irish lad called Murphy that got drunk and fell in the canal. Oh yeah, in Helmond, yeah, we got very friendly with the girls there, yes. But we took over a shop which I think you called it De Goiters, which is the grocer. All they had in there was some broken biscuits. But they were in a bad way. And we all carried this emergency chocolate, which was like concrete, and we gave it to the kids.
Na lange tijd krijgt het Royal Norfolk Regiment in Helmond een welverdiende rustpauze. Er is nu gelegenheid om contact te leggen met het thuisfront.
Oh yes, you could write, but you were given cards. You just ticked off what was on the card, you know, I'm okay, yeah.
Na de mislukte Amerikaanse aanval bij Overloon krijgt de Britse 3e Infanteriedivisie de taak om Overloon en Venray te bevrijden. Na hevige gevechten wordt op 12 oktober 1944 Overloon bevrijd. Maar was er nog wel een levende ziel in deze puinhopen te bevrijden?
In Overloon, yeah, there was literally nothing left of Overloon at all.
Op 13 oktober breekt de tweede fase aan, de aanval op Venray. Hiervoor wordt de 185e brigade in de strijd geworpen. Zij krijgen ondersteuning van tanks van de Coldstream Guards. Voorop gaan de Warwicks en de King's Shropshire Infantry. Het bataljon van de Norfolks met John Sleep zou volgen.
The young officers with and the sergeant, we went on a patrol one night, which was quite common, you know. And we went one day and we found a clearing, and it was so dense that we could hear the German officers calling their men by Christian names. It never happened in the British Army. So we started to go across the clearing, and the German jumped up from a hole in the ground and started to yawn, because no doubt he'd been asleep or something. And the officer fired at him point blank and missed. So I went to fire the Sten, which jammed. So I threw it at him and he fell backwards down the hole. And of course the cry had gone out there, Tommies, you know, all shouting Tommies. So he said to me, what shall we do? I said, bloody run. So we did. But what amuses me, we must have been running at 300 miles an hour. How we missed the trees, you know, because the forest was so thick. Yeah.
De Duitse tegenstand is groter dan verwacht. De artilleriebeschietingen zijn zo hevig dat de opmars naar Venray vastloopt in het moerassige gebied. De tanks kunnen weinig uitrichten in dit terrein. De bruggen over de Lowbeek zijn daarbij ook nog opgeblazen.
It's a very heavy shelling. They were using airbursts and the shell exploded in the air, so it rained shrapnel down. But it was very, very heavy fighting there, yes. And the whole area had anti-personnel mines. I remember a Dutchman running out to one of the lads that had been injured. They were all shouting at him to go back. But he didn't, he trod on a mine and blew his leg off.
Uiteindelijk lukt het de genie om een kleine noodbrug te maken over de Lowbeek. Op 16 oktober, laat in de avond, zijn de Britten de Lowbeek over het hele front overgestoken. De bevrijding van Venray is nog een kwestie van tijd.
I think we were there about a week.
Inderdaad, pas na 6 dagen heeft men de afstand van 6 kilometer tussen Overloon en Venray weten te overbruggen. Uiteindelijk wordt op 18 oktober Venray bevrijd. Voor John Sleep is de Lowbeek net een brug te ver.
I met a tank at, well, you know, there's a lot of smoke and mist about, and a hell of a lot of noise. And as I approached the wood, a German tank came out from the corner of it. I gave him a burst, which annoyed him, I think. And luckily, he fired his 88 that penetrated the ground. It must have gone about 20 foot into the ground because the ground was soft, it had been flooded, and blew me up. And he lying on my stomach best part of the day, you know. Putting a big lump of wood in my backside, you know, and I fill the hole up. And then sit me in a hot bath next morning, which was sheer hell. I went down to Brussels Hospital and they flew me back to the UK next day, yeah. So within 72 hours I was back in the UK. in the hospital there, where I spent near enough the next year.
Eind november 1944 is de bloederige strijd om Overloon en Venray gestreden. Bijna 300 burgers komen om het leven. Aan geallieerde zijde is het aantal doden en gewonden vele malen groter.
Between Overloon and the Molenbeek, yeah, the casualties were quite heavy, yes. Yeah, very heavy. And I was a brain gunner then, and I had a number 2 who just grunted and dropped. I turned him over and took the mags off of him. But just after the war, I was in Great Yarmouth, and I saw a man sitting on a bench. And I thought, he looks familiar. Then he spotted me and jumped up and said, "You're dead." And so are you. So that's when 2 dead men met.
John Sleep overleeft de oorlog ternauwernood. Gelukkig kan hij zijn normale leven na de oorlog weer oppakken.
Well, more or less, yeah. Except in mind. Well, I still live in Raisby. I spend my time. I'm a woodcarver.
Jarenlang is John Sleep als oorlogsveteraan aanwezig tijdens de jaarlijkse dodenherdenking op het Engels kerkhof in Venray.
This is 30 years, but the wife and I used to come over between. Well, it's meeting the Dutch people.